The message from space came on a Tuesday. At first, the radio astronomers at the Delaware Observatory thought it was just another stellar anomaly. They were wrong. "We come in peace," the transmission said in perfect English. "The Galactic Council wishes to establish diplomatic relations with Earth." For 3 days, governments around the world scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings filled the United Nations building in New York. Military forces went on high alert. Religious leaders called for calm. And ordinary people looked up at the night sky with new eyes, wondering what waited for them among the stars. Jack Miller sat nervously in the briefing room of the White House. As America's top xenolinguist, he understood why he'd been called, but understanding didn't make the weight on his shoulders any lighter. "Dr. Miller, you've spent your career studying how alien languages might work," said the president. "Now we need you to be our voice." Lisa Ward sat across from him. A career diplomat with experience in the world's most delicate negotiations, she had been selected to accompany Jack. Her calm demeanor hid the storm of thoughts behind her eyes. "The alien vessel will arrive in Earth orbit tomorrow," the National Security Advisor explained. "You two will be our first contact team." Jack rubbed his tired eyes. "Do we know anything about them?" "Only what they've told us. They call themselves the Galactic Council, 7 species who govern interstellar relations in this part of the galaxy." Lisa leaned forward. "And they just happen to speak English. They say they've been observing us for decades, learning our languages, studying our cultures." The next day, a shuttle took Jack and Lisa to the massive ship that had appeared in Earth orbit. It gleamed silver against the blackness of space, shaped like a giant disk with glowing blue lights along its rim. As they docked, Jack's heart pounded in his chest. Everything in his life had led to this moment. The airlock opened to reveal a long corridor. At its end stood 3 figures unlike anything Jack had ever seen. One resembled a tall insect with 4 arms and compound eyes. Another looked almost like a jellyfish floating in air. The third might have passed for human if not for its blue skin and extra fingers. "Welcome," said the blue-skinned alien, its mouth moving strangely around the English words. "I am Counselor Zex of the Ardarians. These are Counselors Vith and Nor." Lisa stepped forward with the practiced ease of a diplomat. "I am Lisa Ward. This is Dr. Jack Miller. We represent Earth." The aliens led them to a large chamber with a window that looked out over Earth. The blue marble hung in space, clouds swirling over oceans and continents. "Beautiful world," said Counselor Nor, the insect-like alien, "rich in resources and life." Jack noticed something in the way the alien said resources that made him uneasy. Over the next 3 days, Jack and Lisa showed the council representatives human art, music, and scientific achievements. The aliens seemed impressed, especially by human adaptability. "Your species has overcome many challenges," said Zex. "Most impressive." On the 4th day, the council extended an invitation. "We would like you to visit our central station," Vith announced, "to begin formal proceedings for Earth's admission to the galactic community." That night, as Jack and Lisa prepared for the journey, Jack shared his concerns. "Something feels off. The way they look at us sometimes, like we're specimens." Lisa nodded slowly. "I've noticed tensions between them too. When they think we're not watching, they argue." "About what?" "I don't know, but I plan to find out." 3 days later, they boarded the council ship bound for deep space. As Earth shrank to a tiny blue dot behind them, neither Jack nor Lisa realized they were heading straight into the greatest threat humanity had ever faced. The council station hung in space like a giant wheel, its outer rim slowly turning to create gravity. From the observation deck, Jack could see 3 suns in the distance, their light creating strange shadows. "Magnificent, isn't it?" said Counselor Zex, standing beside him. "The station houses representatives from over 30 worlds." Lisa studied the alien's blue face carefully. Yet only 7 species sit on the council itself. The founding species, yes. The others serve different functions. Jack and Lisa were given luxurious quarters and freedom to explore certain sections of the station. Other areas remained off-limits, protected by armed guards with insect-like features similar to Counselor Noor's species. On their third night, Jack couldn't sleep. The artificial gravity felt slightly wrong, and strange dreams kept waking him. He decided to walk the quiet corridors. Near the communication center, he heard angry voices. He recognized Zex arguing with Vith. The human showed too much potential, Vith was saying. The classification must stand. They could be valuable allies instead, Zex replied. The council has voted. Earth will be Class D. Jack froze. Class D. What classification system were they using? The next morning, Jack told Lisa about the conversation. Her diplomatic training helped her hide her concern. We need access to their database, she whispered. Find out what Class D means. That afternoon, Lisa created a distraction during a tour, spilling a drink on Counselor Noor. While the aliens fussed over the diplomat, Jack slipped away and found an unattended computer terminal. His fingers flew over the strange keyboard, using techniques he'd observed from watching the station staff. The alien language on screen shifted to English as the computer recognized his species. What he found made his blood run cold. Class D, species designated for servitude. Technological development sufficient for labor tasks, but insufficient for resistance to council control. Recommended approach: rapid subjugation and population control measures. Jack downloaded as much data as he could onto a small device he carried, then hurried back before his absence was noticed. That night, in their quarters with the shower running to mask their conversation, Jack showed Lisa what he'd found. They'd done this before, he said grimly. 12 other species have been classified as Class D in the last century. All now serve as laborers on council worlds. Lisa's face paled. They invited us here while they prepare to invade Earth. The stolen files confirmed their fears. The council had already voted. In 3 days, they would formally announce Earth's classification and dispatch a containment fleet to establish control. We need to warn Earth, Jack said. But they're monitoring all our communications. Lisa thought for a moment. Not all of them. Remember Counselor Zex? He seemed to argue against our classification. Maybe he can help us. Approaching Zex proved dangerous but necessary. They arranged a private meeting, supposedly to discuss human cultural practices. I know what you discovered, Zex said before they could speak. I've been monitoring your activities. Jack tensed, ready for guards to burst in, but instead, Zex lowered his voice. Not all council members agree with this policy. Some of us believe in cooperation, not subjugation. But we are the minority. Will you help us? Lisa asked. I can give you access to a secure communication channel. 1 transmission to Earth. Make it count. Back on Earth, Admiral Susan Reynolds received their encrypted message at 3:17 a.m. By dawn, the planet's limited defense forces were mobilizing. The message was simple. Council voted for enslavement. 3 days until they announce. Prepare. On the station, Jack and Lisa continued to smile and participate in council meetings, never letting on that they knew the truth. But each night, they whispered plans for resistance. They think we'll be easy to control, Jack said. They have no idea what humans do when cornered. Lisa nodded grimly. They're about to learn. The council chamber gleamed with polished stone and hovering lights. All 7 counselors sat in a semicircle on elevated platforms, looking down at Jack and Lisa, who stood in the center. After careful consideration, announced Counselor Vith, mandibles clicking between words, we have classified humanity as a Class D species. Jack clenched his fists but kept his face neutral. Lisa stepped forward with practiced diplomatic calm. May we ask what this classification means? She asked, though they already knew. It means your species requires guidance, said Counselor Noor. Earth will be integrated into our resource networks. Humans will provide labor and materials to support more advanced civilizations. In simple terms, Jack said flatly. "You're declaring us slaves." The chamber fell silent. The counselors seemed surprised by the direct language. "We prefer the term protected service species," said a reptilian counselor. "Your planet will receive technological benefits in exchange." Lisa smiled thinly. "And if we refuse?" "That would be most unwise," Vith replied. "Our enforcement fleet is already preparing for departure." What the Council didn't know was that Earth had been preparing too. The moment Jack and Lisa's warning reached Admiral Reynolds, humanity's small space defense force had begun implementing plans no one had ever expected to use. "We respectfully reject your classification," Jack announced formally. He pulled out a small device Zex had secretly provided and activated it. His face appeared on screens throughout the station and on all Council worlds. Earth's response would be public. "Humanity declares itself independent of Council authority," Jack stated. "We choose our own path among the stars." The Council erupted in outrage. Guards moved to seize Jack and Lisa, but Zex stepped between them. "They have diplomatic protection," the blue-skinned alien insisted. "Even our laws recognize that." Meanwhile, near Earth, the first Council enforcement vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel. They expected to find a primitive planet ripe for conquest. Instead, they found Admiral Reynolds' ships waiting in an unusual formation, scattered throughout the solar system rather than grouped for defense. "Human vessels detected," reported the Council fleet commander. "Primitive weapons systems. No threat." He was wrong. Dr. Alan Foster, Earth's leading physicist, had developed a theory about the Council's shield technology based on data Jack had stolen. The Council ships relied on energy fields that could stop any direct attack, but perhaps not an indirect one. As the Council ships advanced, Earth vessels retreated, seemingly in fear. The Council commander ordered pursuit, spreading his forces thin. That's when Reynolds gave the order. Earth ships didn't fire at the Council vessels. Instead, they fired beyond them, detonating special warheads that created electromagnetic pulses in carefully calculated patterns. These pulses bounced off nearby planets and asteroids, coming at the Council ships from dozens of directions simultaneously. The Council shields flickered and failed. "Impossible," the commander gasped as his systems shut down. On a small outpost in the asteroid belt, Captain Olivia Grant led a team that had trained for months for this moment. While the Council ships drifted with disabled systems, her small vessels attached to their hulls, cut through, and captured 5 Council ships before they could restore power. Back at the Council station, Jack and Lisa were confined to their quarters, but protected by Zex's diplomatic intervention. "The Council has underestimated your species," Zex told them quietly. "They expected immediate surrender." "Humans don't surrender easily," Lisa replied. Reports from Earth soon reached the station. The Council's first wave had been repelled with unexpected losses. Emergency sessions were called. "How did they defeat our ships?" demanded Vith. "They shouldn't have the technology." "Perhaps," suggested Zex carefully, "we should reconsider our classification of humans." Jack smiled as he overheard the debates through the listening device Zex had provided. The Council had voted to enslave humanity, thinking Earth would be an easy conquest. But humans had changed the game. And this was just the beginning. Jack and Lisa spent 15 days confined to their quarters on the Council station. Guards brought food and monitored their movements, but strangely, no formal charges were brought against them. "They're trying to figure out what to do with us," Lisa said, staring out the window at the distant stars. "We've messed up their plans." Reports filtered through their hidden communication device from Zex. Earth's resistance had stunned the Council. 3 more enforcement waves had been sent, and each had been repelled through different tactics. Humans were proving unpredictable. On the 16th day, their door opened unexpectedly. A tall, gray-skinned alien with large eyes stood there without guards. "I am Kira of the Viridians," she whispered. "Counselor Zex sent me." She quickly placed a small device on the wall that created a sound barrier around them. My people were the first species classified as Class D 90 years ago, she explained. We have served the Council ever since, but what your people have done, it gives us hope. Jack leaned forward. There are others like you. Many, the Queltor, the Tashans, 12 species in total who serve the Council against their will. We have never coordinated resistance before. We had no way to communicate secretly across star systems. Lisa understood immediately, but now Earth's ships have captured Council technology. Yes, Kira nodded. And your engineer, Daniel Patterson, has begun to reverse engineer their communication systems. Back on Earth, Daniel worked day and night in a hidden facility beneath the Arizona desert. Captured Council technology surrounded him, along with teams of engineers and linguists trying to decode alien operating systems. The problem isn't just language, Daniel explained to Admiral Reynolds during an inspection. It's thought patterns. These systems were designed by minds that don't work like ours. But Daniel had an insight. He created a universal translation interface that adapted to different species' thought patterns. Within weeks, Earth could communicate directly with the Viridians and Queltor without the Council knowing. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Commander Elizabeth Wright established hidden bases inside hollowed-out rocks. These bases became meeting points where representatives from 3 species could gather in secret. The Council has ruled through division, Elizabeth told the assembled aliens. They keep us separated so we can't share knowledge or coordinate resistance. A Queltor representative, whose body resembled a tall praying mantis, clicked his mandibles in agreement. For generations, we believed we were alone in our subjugation. On Earth, William Carter, once a skilled diplomatic negotiator, now worked to identify potential allies among the Council species themselves. Not all of them support enslavement, he explained to world leaders. Zex's faction has always advocated for cooperation instead of domination, if we can strengthen their position. The Council remained deeply divided. 3 emergency sessions ended in shouting matches, with no clear plan to handle the human problem. Reports of other subject species becoming restless added to their concerns. This is unprecedented, Vith admitted during a private council meeting. No Class D species has ever resisted successfully. Jack and Lisa were finally brought before the Council again, this time as de facto ambassadors rather than specimens to be classified. Your actions constitute rebellion against established galactic order, Counselor Noor stated. We prefer to call it self-determination, Jack replied calmly. You cannot hope to defeat the combined might of the Council, warned the reptilian counselor. Lisa smiled. Perhaps not alone, but have you noticed your servants are watching us closely? Every day we resist, their chains feel heavier. The Council members shifted uncomfortably. They had built their society on the assumption that technological superiority guaranteed control. Humans were challenging that assumption. Back on the captured Council ships, now hidden in Earth's asteroid bases, Daniel Patterson made a breakthrough. He discovered weaknesses in Council quantum communications that could be exploited. We can listen to their transmissions, he told Admiral Reynolds excitedly. Maybe even send false orders. For the first time in Council history, they faced a coordinated multi-species resistance, and it had all begun because they underestimated one simple planet called Earth. Dr. Kate Martinez hadn't slept in 3 days. Her lab in the underwater research facility off the coast of Cuba buzzed with activity as scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Abandoned coffee cups lined every surface. I think we've got it, she said, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. Admiral Reynolds looked at the small device on the table. It resembled a silver cube with pulsing blue lights along its edges. This is the game changer you promised, he asked. Kate nodded. We've been studying the quantum entanglement properties in the Council communication systems. They use paired particles to send messages across vast distances, like our quantum computing, Reynolds noted. Similar, but much more advanced. However, they have a fundamental flaw in their approach. Kate picked up the cube. They never considered that the quantum field could be accessed laterally. She activated the device. A holographic display appeared above it, showing streams of alien text. "This is a Council military transmission happening right now, 16 light-years away," Kate explained. "Our quantum interceptor doesn't just read their communications. It can insert our own without being detected." Reynolds stared in amazement. "You've broken their entire secure network." "Better, we can control it." The implications were enormous. For weeks, the human-led resistance had been fighting defensively, reacting to Council moves. Now they could coordinate across the galaxy instantly, bypassing all Council monitoring. Within days, Kate's quantum communicators were distributed to resistance cells on 17 worlds. Earth, the Viridians, and the Queltar could now plan simultaneous strikes across Council space. On a mining planet in the Arcturus system, enslaved Viridians received the signal and disabled their overseer ships during shift change. On a Council agricultural world, Queltar workers seized control of atmospheric processors. And in orbit around Jupiter, Earth's small fleet prepared for their most daring move yet. The Council remained unaware of the quantum breakthrough. Their military leaders still believed their communications were secure. "The human problem will be contained," Vith assured the Council. "We have identified their main defense base on their moon. The attack will commence in 12 hours. What the Council didn't know was that every word of their planning session was being transmitted to Earth in real time. When the Council fleet arrived at Earth's moon, they found it abandoned. As they searched for the missing human forces, alarms blared across their command ships. Multiple attacks reported across Council space. An officer reported frantically. 17 systems under simultaneous assault. How is this possible? Back on the Council station, Jack and Lisa observed the chaos from their quarters, receiving updates through their hidden communicator. Phase 1 complete, Lisa noted as reports came in. Time for Phase 2. Ryan Johnson had once been Earth's top hostage negotiator. Now he worked as a diplomatic advisor, studying Council politics and identifying fractures to exploit. Through Zex, he had been quietly contacting Council members who disagreed with the enslavement policy. "The military hardliners are failing," Ryan told a secret gathering of 3 Council species representatives. "Their approach has brought nothing but costly defeats. Perhaps it's time for new leadership." The Battle of Proxima Station became the turning point. Council forces had gathered there to launch a massive counterattack against Earth, but the Resistance knew every detail of their plans. Captain Olivia Grant led a small fleet of captured and modified Council vessels directly into the heart of their formation, broadcasting identification codes stolen through the quantum network. By the time the Council realized these weren't friendly ships, Olivia's forces had already disabled their command vessels. "Council vessels, power down your weapons," Olivia broadcast. "Your communications are compromised. Your plans are known. Further resistance is pointless." For the first time in its 1,000-year history, a Council battle group surrendered to an inferior species. The news spread quickly through Council space. The unthinkable had happened. Humans hadn't just resisted, they had achieved a decisive victory using the Council's own technology against them. In the Council chamber, Vith faced angry questions from fellow councilors. "How could this happen?" demanded the reptilian member. "You assured us humans would be easily controlled." "Perhaps," suggested Zex calmly, "we should reconsider our approach to humanity before they reconsider their approach to us." News of the Council's defeat at Proxima Station spread like wildfire across controlled space. The quantum communication network, once the Council's greatest tool, now carried whispers of revolution to the farthest reaches of their territory. On the agricultural world Velos 4, Tashan workers laid down their tools and refused orders. In the mining colonies of the Rigel system, Viridians took control of processing facilities. 12 subject species, enslaved for generations, suddenly saw hope in humanity's example. "This was never part of our plan," Jack said as he and Lisa watched reports flooding in on their hidden communicator. "We just wanted to protect Earth." Revolution has its own momentum, Lisa replied quietly. We've knocked over the first domino. The council station itself was in chaos. Emergency alarms sounded daily as reports of uprisings came from dozens of worlds. Council members argued openly in corridors. Military commanders demanded more resources while politicians urged caution. Councillor Vith, once the strongest advocate for human subjugation, found himself increasingly isolated. During an emergency session, 3 council species formally called for a change in leadership. Our policy has failed, declared the Ardarian representative, Zex's superior. Continued military action against humans will only spread the rebellion further. Vith's mandibles clicked angrily. We cannot show weakness. The entire basis of council authority will collapse. It is already collapsing, replied the reptilian councillor. We must adapt or face extinction. For the first time in council history, a vote of no confidence removed a senior leader. Vith was stripped of authority, and the council voted to open formal peace negotiations with Earth. Jack and Lisa were summoned not as prisoners but as diplomats. Their quarters locks were disabled. Guards were replaced with attentive staff. Quite a change in our status, Jack remarked as they were escorted to the council chamber. The chamber looked different now. The elevated platforms had been lowered, creating a more equal setting. 5 of the 7 council species were represented. 2 had withdrawn in protest of the new approach. Representatives of Earth, began the new head councillor, an Ardarian female. We propose immediate cessation of hostilities and recognition of human sovereignty. Lisa stepped forward, and the other species classified as Class D. What of their sovereignty? Uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. That is a separate issue, said the reptilian councillor cautiously. Not to us, Jack replied firmly. Any agreement must include freedom for all enslaved species. On Earth, Admiral Paul Harrison prepared humanity's response to potential council treachery. A fleet of 70 ships, including 20 captured and reverse-engineered council vessels, stood ready in the outer solar system. We negotiate from strength or not at all, Harrison told Earth's United Defense Council. If the council attempts deception, we're prepared to take the fight directly to their homeworlds. The negotiations stretched over weeks. The council offered partial autonomy, restricted independence, limited freedom, anything to maintain some control over their crumbling empire. Each offer was rejected. You don't seem to understand your position, Lisa told them during a particularly tense session. We're not asking for concessions. We're informing you of the new reality. Across council space, the revolution grew. Subject species coordinated their actions using Earth's quantum network. Council military forces, stretched thin by countless rebellions, began surrendering rather than fighting hopeless battles. On 3 council homeworlds, political upheaval led to the collapse of governments that had supported the enslavement policy. Citizens who had benefited from slave labor for generations now questioned the moral foundations of their society. The turning point came when Councillor Zex took a remarkable step. During a public session broadcast across all council systems, he formally apologized for his species' role in the enslavement program. We betrayed our own highest principles, he stated, and in doing so, we created the seeds of our own downfall. The time has come to rebuild our society on the basis of cooperation, not domination. The council hardliners called it treason. The subject species called it the beginning of justice, and humans recognized it as the moment the old order truly ended. Jack and Lisa stood at the observation window of the council station, watching ships come and go, no longer just council vessels, but craft from Earth and newly liberated worlds. They voted to enslave us, Jack said softly. Instead, we freed everyone else. Lisa smiled. Quite a change to their game. The signing ceremony took place on neutral ground, a newly constructed space station orbiting Mars. Representatives from 27 species gathered in the Great Hall, including all former council races and those previously classified as servants. Jack Miller adjusted his formal uniform nervously. After 2 years of conflict and 6 months of intense negotiations, the Treaty of Sol would finally be signed today. "Ready for this?" Lisa Ward asked, stepping up beside him. "Not really," Jack admitted. "I'm a linguist, not a politician." Lisa smiled. "You're a symbol now. The human who stood up to the council and changed galactic history." The hall quieted as delegates took their seats. The circular arrangement of the chamber had been carefully designed. No raised platforms, no species given priority placement. Equality was built into the very architecture. Zex, no longer representing just the Ardarians, but serving as the transitional coordinator, stepped to the center. "Today marks the end of one era and the beginning of another," he began. "The Galactic Council, as it existed, is dissolved. In its place, we establish the Galactic Assembly, where all species participate as equals." One by one, representatives came forward to sign the treaty. Former council species signed alongside those they had once enslaved. Ancient enemies sat together as partners. When Jack's turn came, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. His signature represented not just Earth, but a fundamental shift in galactic power. The treaty established key principles. No species could be classified as inferior or subjected to mandatory service. All worlds gained self-determination. A mutual defense pact protected newly independent planets from outside threats. Technology would be shared rather than hoarded. "Not bad for a Class D species," Lisa whispered as Jack returned to his seat. After the ceremony, Jack received news that surprised him. The Assembly had elected him as Earth's first representative to the governing council. "Me? I'm not qualified for this," he protested when Admiral Harrison informed him. "You understand them better than anyone," Harrison replied. "And they respect you. Both sides do." Lisa received her own appointment, leading the Liberation Commission charged with freeing any remaining enslaved populations and helping them establish self-governance. "There's still so much work to do," she told Jack during the celebration afterward. "Generations of enslavement leave deep scars. But they'll heal," Jack said. "Look at what's already happening." Across formerly council-controlled space, new possibilities flourished. The Viridians, experts in ecological engineering, began restoring damaged worlds. The Queltar shared their remarkable medical knowledge, previously restricted by council decree. Humans contributed their unique adaptability and problem-solving approaches. Daniel Patterson's quantum communication technology became the backbone of a new galactic network, connecting previously isolated worlds. Captain Olivia Grant established a multi-species security force to protect vulnerable planets during the transition. Dr. Kate Martinez headed a new science academy, where researchers from all species collaborated freely. The breakthroughs came rapidly once artificial barriers were removed. Not everyone embraced the new order. 2 former council species refused to join the assembly, retreating to their home systems. Hardliners among the Viridians demanded reparations beyond what the treaty provided. Some human factions called for punishing former council worlds rather than partnering with them. "Peace is always harder than war," Lisa observed during a particularly difficult negotiation. "Fighting united us. Building requires more patience." 1 year after the treaty signing, Jack visited Earth for the first time since his original departure. Standing in the Delaware Observatory where the first council message had been received, he looked up at the night sky. "They thought we would be perfect slaves," he told a group of students touring the facility. "Technologically advanced enough to be useful, but not enough to resist effectively." "What made humans different?" a young girl asked. Jack considered the question carefully. Maybe it wasn't just our technology or our tactics. Maybe it was something deeper, our refusal to accept limitations placed on us by others. As Jack returned to his shuttle for the journey back to the assembly station, he received a message from Lisa. New uncharted worlds had been discovered beyond former council space. The assembly was organizing the first multi-species exploration mission. "Interested in another adventure?" her message asked. Jack smiled. The council had voted to enslave humanity. Instead, humans had freed the galaxy. And this was just the beginning. 5 years had passed since the signing of the Treaty of Sol. The Galactic Assembly had grown to include 34 species, with more joining each year as exploration ships made contact with civilizations beyond former Council space. Jack Miller stood on the observation deck of the Horizon, the first true multi-species exploration vessel. The ship combined technologies from 7 different worlds, creating something greater than any single species could have built alone. "Ambassador Miller, we're approaching the anomaly," said the ship's captain, a Viridian named Krell, whose gray skin shimmered under the bridge lights. The anomaly had been detected 3 months earlier, a strange distortion in space that defied conventional scanning. The Assembly had voted to investigate, and Jack had volunteered to join the mission. "Any new readings?" Jack asked. "Nothing definitive, but the energy signature doesn't match anything in our combined databases." Lisa Ward joined them on the bridge. After completing her work with the Liberation Commission, she had returned to her diplomatic roots, serving as Earth's chief negotiator for first contact situations. "Could be natural," she suggested, "or evidence of a civilization we haven't encountered yet. Either way, we proceed with caution," Jack said. The horizon slowed as it approached the distortion. The view screen showed what looked like ripples in the fabric of space itself, swirling in patterns that somehow looked both random and deliberate. "Picking up a signal," reported Daniel Patterson, who had joined the crew as chief science officer. His quantum communication technology had been integrated throughout the ship. "It's structured, definitely artificial." "Can you decode it?" asked Lisa. Daniel shook his head. "It's unlike any language pattern we've encountered. Not even similar to the linguistic structures of Council species." "Something truly new," Jack whispered, feeling the excitement of discovery. The signal suddenly intensified. The ripples in space parted like a curtain, revealing what appeared to be a gateway of swirling energy. "Is it a wormhole?" Captain Krell asked. "Not exactly," Daniel replied, studying his instruments. "More like a doorway someone has built between points in space." A new signal came through, stronger now. The ship's translation systems struggled but began to form rough approximations of meaning. "They're inviting us through," Jack said, looking at the partial translation. "They say they've been watching the changes in our part of the galaxy with interest." Captain Krell's compound eyes focused on the gateway. This could be a trap, or the greatest discovery since humans joined the galactic community. Lisa countered. The bridge crew, humans, Viridians, Qualtar, and representatives from 4 other species, looked to Jack for guidance. 5 years ago, they would have waited for Council orders. Now they made decisions together. "We should respond," Jack said finally. "Tell them who we are, what the Assembly represents." Daniel worked with the communication team to craft a message explaining the Assembly's principles of cooperation and mutual respect. The response came quickly. The gateway stabilized, its swirling energies settling into a calm blue portal. "They say they're called the Architects," Daniel translated. "They've existed in the spaces between galaxies for." The translation isn't clear, but it seems like millions of years. "Why contact us now?" Lisa wondered. The next transmission answered her question. The Architects had observed countless civilizations rise and fall. They had watched the Council establish its hierarchy of species, enforcing order through subjugation, and they had watched as humans changed that paradigm. They were waiting, Jack realized, waiting to see if we would follow the Council's path or create something different. Captain Krell gave the order to send a small probe through the gateway. The data it returned showed a vast construct on the other side, a meeting place created specifically for this moment. "The Assembly will need to vote on how to proceed," Lisa noted formally. Jack nodded, but he already knew what the decision would be. The same spirit that had refused Council enslavement would now embrace this new opportunity. 5 years ago, "We changed the rules of one game," he said, gazing at the gateway. "I think we've just been invited to play an entirely new one." The horizon held position, a tiny ship before an enormous doorway, representing not just humanity, but a new kind of galactic society. One built on the revolutionary idea that cooperation could be stronger than control.